Welcome back. You here with Goldberg. Today I want to talk about meaningful relationships, my take on this concept. Because a lot of folks, and this is likely the public education system speaking, they have a difficult time breaking out of these crude dichotomies. They want the Venn diagram torn in very directions because you either have to believe the panacea is a MGTOW-esque philosophy or you do the trad wife, trad life. There isn't a whole lot in the middle. There's no room for it's going to depend. But as I've tried to impart many times before, you're chasing the betterment of your material or perhaps spiritual conditions. You're looking for something that's tolerable. You will not find nirvana or perfection anytime soon. Nevertheless, these types, they get quite irate and they'll go, "What are you going to do with all that freedom? You're just going to enjoy your life, do what you want without a trad wife and kids." Well, who knows? But speaking as someone that has some experience with semi to long term relationships, girls of varied backgrounds, religions, I feel that I can talk to some degree of what it entails. And obviously, it's going to be different depending on who you are. But even there, a lot of what we see with female behavior cuts across the bounds of cultures and faiths and whatnot. Truthfully, at least the beginning of relationships are typically fantastic, especially if the girl has not been ravaged previously by their dudes. It is kind of mystery, you're getting to know them, you're having laughs, you're building good memories. It's a heartwarming experience, and I don't think anyone's going to deny that unless they've had horror stories. But like anything good, it can't last, not between human beings, without one asserting themselves and taking more control. And on a long enough timeline, a woman is going to run your life. Particularly because if you like her, if you don't want to lose her, you will have no choice but to bend the knee. I don't care how much red pill nonsense you hear, maintain frame, do this, do that. You are going to be operating on her terms. And as I'll note later, for some of you, that's perfect. You're better off being the provider, emotional simp. You're going to be happier for the duration of your life than if you endorse this, I'm going to be Andrew Tate, I'm going to be MGTOW approach to your existence. But what happens is once you start getting more serious with a woman, the stuff that you did to first get her attention, not only is that expected to continue, but you have to one-up it. It has to be fantabulous, now more than ever. You have to be the guy that you wake up in the morning and your wife hasn't taken a shower yet, she's lying in bed, and you say, "I don't care, I love you so much," and you go down on her. And you leave her, it's not her birthday, it's not Christmas, Valentine's Day, but you leave her flowers and a card and a fresh butt plug to express your adoration for the only land whale in the world, as Rihanna might say. You go off to work and you make the big bucks, 60 hours a week, and you say, "Don't worry, hon, I wrote a check to the contractor, 10 grand. He's going to get started on the bathroom remodel on Monday, and you'll be the marvelous picture that you've all wanted for such a long time." You tuck the kids in at night, and you book her a trip, all inclusive, to the Sandals Resort multiple times a year. And she's in such a good mood that that night you go into the bedroom and she's stripped off all her clothes. She gets on her knees and she gives you amazing head. And you're like, "Oh, I love being married." That's perfectly fine, but it has to continue. This is called preventative maintenance simping. Scotty McCreery has a very annoying song which goes, "It matters to her, it stays on her mind," because those things you did, those gestures, they will last for a few hours, for a few days, but then it's going to be, why aren't you doing it again? You're supposed to be continuously giving validation. There's no sense, for most women at least, until I would say maybe their SMV truly nosedives and they just want companionship. There's not much appreciation for that stuff over a long timeline. It becomes, this is inadequate, do more. And so you can't just perform this stuff once a month. It's going to have to be more frequent. Or she's going to start critiquing, "Well, this was nice, but you didn't include that particular factor," because they're on Instagram, they're on TikTok, they're talking to their friends, and they're always saying, "Well, why am I not receiving the same thing? Am I not worth as much?" And that will become the basis of your triumph or demise, depending on how you want to look at it. So it's not enough to get the ring, get married, have the honeymoon. As the Christian cuck relationship experts say, never stop romancing your wife. You've got to persuade her that nothing else in the world matters except her and this holy grail between her legs. Now, don't use the excuse, by the way, of, oh, I'm taking care of my sick mom or the kids really need my attention. That's not going to cut it. You're dealing with a very solipsistic, immature creature that believes the world is perpetually about them, or else something's amiss. There's a guy I know, very friendly dude. He married his high school sweetheart, was together for 20 some years, had kids. He did exactly that. I want to focus so much of my time on the kids. She says, you're neglecting me. We're drifting apart. And they got divorced. And he had to pay the bills for like her apartment or her house and his and all this nonsense. Imagine doing that at middle age. It's just completely nonsensical. Even then, the simping which you perform may not be adequate. So, for whatever reason, a lot of brothers will spill the beans to me about their relationships and marriages. I have no idea why, but it just happens. So, this one particular dude, he busts his ass 70 hours a week. And he's one of those guys, oh, back in the day, I was pumping dumb, I was smashing, I just tune them out. Yeah, yeah, and they get irritated. But he settled for this 3 or 4 out of 10. He even admits she's not great looking, but she's got a heart of gold, of course. He dropped 100K on the wedding. He is constantly grinding to provide her with a good life, not in the ghetto, a nice neighborhood, send the kids to good schools, have the proper vehicles. And he flat out, in so many words, admitted to me that she's got him on the near sell schedule, like ABC, if that. Oh, I'm not really in the mood. Here's a dude that is putting in so much, sacrificing for this mediocre woman, at least in terms of looks, and that is how she rewards him. So he's on that cope of the red pill game nonsense, and oh, I'm going to lose weight and run game on the wife, and she's going to be intimidated that I can get other women. It's like, go right ahead. You sign the contract. You cheat on her, you're going to be paying out of your ass for the rest of your life. Sorry to tell you. By the way, and this is a very sad truth about how black-pilled women are. Even if you find a girl who's a foreigner, but you bring her to the United States or you meet her here, they will very quickly catch on to the fact that you value them, because that's the problem. The longer you stay with a woman because you're investing in her, you say maybe there's potential for a family, she doesn't take it as, oh, it's so wonderful, this dude cares about me so much. She goes, well, why aren't you dating that girl? Am I the best you can get? And if she determines that she isn't the best you can get, she's going to demand more and more while giving less and less. This is a tactic which is very common of girls that have BPD, and I've heard that BPD is something like 50% of the female population, although I can't find this specific study. I think they said the DSM changed definitions to accommodate it because it was no longer considered a disorder, but don't quote me on that. I'm just doing it off the cuff. Nevertheless, it's called the walking on eggshells tactic. This is where, out of the blue, she'll become very unpredictable, her reactions to you. So you tell a joke that a year before she thought was hilarious and she ignites. Or you just text her, hey, how's it going? And she blows up. You make a random remark, I don't really care for that person's style, and she takes their side and you're the horrible villain who should not exist. She's doing this because she's trying to manipulate you into being cowed, doing what she wants, being afraid of her anger to where you step in line and you start exhibiting the traits that she feels she deserves because she saw TikTok videos or Instagram or her friends, whatever it might be. Another form of manipulation that I've come across, this was last year when I was with the ex, she invites me out to not a high end, it was like comfort food but expensive varieties. And I was not in a good mood because I just gotten out of work 10 hours or so. There was also, they provide you with those miniature French fries with your burger, which I don't care for, and there was a hair in them, so not exactly a good start. But by the end of it, she tries to go, if you love me, you'll pay. And I was like, no, you invited me to go out of my way, out of work, to visit this place, so you're paying. She got all pissed off. But that's a typical manipulation tactic, just like the walking on eggshells, because they will assume if you really like me that much, I can extract more and more stuff from you, and if you want to keep me, you have to just shut up and take it. This is the fate of many a man who goes the direction of having the meaningful relationship so cold. He stays together. You say all you want about LARPing, red pill, trad this. At the end of the day, you're going to have to do what she wants. And you're going to call her the boss, and it's going to be clear as crystal. Not much else I can tell you. By the way, as a quick note to that, you Muslim copers and you 900 God cells need to pay attention because the tidal wave of female empowerment has not truly hit the Middle East and South Asian cultures, but it's coming and it's going to be brutal. I'll see these little reels on Instagram by these brown girls. You make my stomach curl, and they're just so adamant and proud about, oh, 70 years ago we would have been forced to get married and have kids, but now we're independent and have our own careers, and we don't care about that. And you got the curry cells and Arab cells in the comments section. Oh, what about family and tradition? And you'll be lonely when you're 35. Do you really believe a 5 out of 10 Muslim or Hindu girl that came to this country and she's like a PA or a lawyer, a doctor, engineer, she's truly crying over the fact that she's not going to get the chance to marry 3 out of 10 Sandeep, that her mother or grandmother had to and found the guy disgusting, but that was tradition. You think she's really torn up inside about? No, she's not going to, because she's on her own terms. And she have to understand, Brother Amr said it best. Ugly men cannot make demands. All this red pill, I'm going to run game, I'm going to manipulate my wife, this stuff is not going to work on the long run because you signed a contract, you're invested, maybe you have kids, you're going to do what she wants. Maybe she'll give you a little bit of leeway to pretend that you're in control, but at the end of the day, it's going to be her terms. Now, by the way, as I said earlier, for some of you, this is the best thing that can happen. You hunker down, you get your stability, you serve your Khaleesi, bend the knee, and it will provide that measure of an identity that otherwise you're going to be listless, pretending that you're 33 Secrets or Troy Francis or Jason Blaha trying to pick up men on the internet.com. Me personally, I'm not against the possibility of another relationship, but as far as especially the United States is concerned, I don't intend on taking it seriously unless you genuinely find a unicorn, which that's unlikely. Because I've seen too many of the same lies, the manipulations, the lack of sincerity across different cultures, religions, and I just don't see much worth investing in. Because if a person is consistently, at any given moment, can turn around and be like, well, yes, this is good, but it's not enough, I expect that, it just becomes another job you're doing. Essentially, you work a job however many hours a week, then you come home, but this job is even more unpredictable and your evaluations are always suspect. So whatever you elect for, just understand the underlying terms and be ready to see the disaster coming if it does so. Hopefully you'll be successful. I am not a cynic. I just have seen it so many times, the same thing play out, that I can't sit back and just tell, yeah, everything's fine no matter what. It is going to be what she desires, and you're going to follow, or you're going to take your chances elsewhere.